Hey, what's going on, everybody? Joe Troyer here. Welcome to the Wednesday AMA. You guys know the drill. Thanks for being here. You guys know that I have time set aside once a month on Wednesdays to help you guys, to give you guys feedback, to help you guys grow your business. And that it's all up to you guys to guide and decide where we go in today's call. So first and foremost, just want to welcome you guys to the call. Let me know where you guys are calling in from, dialing in from, I don't know, on your computer, going through the interwebs from. That would be awesome. Let's see, what's up, Frankie Allen? Good to see you. Herb Rawling, James Noble, Rodney Gardner. For some reason, there's a bunch of people here that say no name and then first and last, and that's it for the names. Super strange. But again, guys, you guys are going to drive today in today's conversation. So let me know how it is that I can help you guys out, and we'll go from there. While you guys are putting in those questions, I'll talk a little bit about what's been going on lately for me. We'll make it super quick, easy, and painless, but give you guys a little behind the scenes, if you will. I'll turn on one of my browsers. Let's see which one comes on. I would like to use, not that one, what, this one? No, this one. All right, so real quick, kind of behind the scenes look at Digital Triggers, the podcast. We've had some awesome guests on as of late. So real quick, I'll give you guys the down low on the last couple of episodes. We do an episode every single week. For me, this is really fun. I get to interview people and hang out with people that I would want to hang out with anyways. And usually I'm using the podcast as the mechanism, as the platform, as the way to get in front of somebody and say, hey, Matt, I would love to chat with you about how you build seven-figure businesses by building out partner programs and affiliate programs, right? That's his specialty. And so I had a really deep dive conversation with Matt. My team actually since has bought some of his training. They've been going through it, building out processes and systems to go after affiliates or partners, no matter what type of business that you guys are in. One of the easiest ways to definitely get started is to build a partner program or an affiliate program. Basically just working with people who already have your audience. You know, if you're an agency, that could mean lots of things. That could be working with software companies that also have your ideal customers. That could be working with people locally that sell the products and services, the suppliers or the supply houses to the HVAC companies or pool supply companies or whatever niche it is that you work with. There are educators, coaches, and trainers in like every industry out there. It could be partnering with them. And so just know that a partner program or an affiliate program could be looked at lots of different ways. There's lots of ways to slice it and go about it. But if you're interested in that, which you should be, this is a really, really cool conversation right here with Matt McWilliams. Then I had the pleasure of having Janelle Henderson, our COO at Invisible PPC, really come on and talk about finding an integrator to really help you guys optimize and build and grow a seven-figure business. And we focused a lot on agency building because we view ourselves at Invisible PPC as an agency, right? We're structured like an agency. We're just an agency for agencies, a little different. But we had Janelle kind of talk about how she builds our systems, our processes, how she manages the team, kind of behind the scenes, what we use for project management, how everything kind of flows and goes together, how she does her superpower too, which is keeping all the people going and moving and the train on the track, so to speak. She's really, really good people person and is a fantastic manager. And so this is kind of a cool look behind the scenes at Invisible PPC. One of the questions I get asked the most at like the mastermind events that I go to for agencies and the really high level events that I run for agency members, when people get a chance to meet Janelle, they're often like, wow, holy crap, she's amazing. Like, how did you find her? And so we really titled this How to Find an Integrator, right? Because you have, on one side you have, an integrator. On the other side, you have the visionary entrepreneur on the other side. And it's important as you grow a business to have those types of different roles in your business. So this is a really good one. I got a chance to chat with Gray Metrics founder, and Gray Metrics is just what I said here. I think a groundbreaking white label reporting and dashboard solution that I think has the opportunity to quite literally change the game in our space. The white label reporting and dashboards and all of that industry has needed a shakeup for quite some time. The tech is dated. It doesn't look very good. It takes forever to run, but it's a necessity for us as running agencies and really just marketers to be able to have dashboards that help us understand our KPIs and where we're going. And Gray Metrics is doing it really, really well. Guys, in like 2 minutes, you can go from a free trial with Gray Metrics to a full-blown platform and dashboard with the metrics all in and loading and it looking great. I dare you to try to do that on any of the other platforms. So super excited about these guys. We're looking at moving over literally all of our dashboards at Invisible PPC over to Gray Metrics. If you have us run PPC for you guys, that change will be coming soon. You guys will see that we're moving over to Gray Metrics. We're just working on a couple of integrations and tweaks to get our reports to kind of function the way that they have for the last few years. Next up is a cool conversation I had with Susan McVeigh. So this was cool. I got the introduction to Susan from a friend of mine named Alex. And Alex is a really, really smart guy. He's a guy that like you're in conversation with and you're just like, man, I feel like an idiot. Like this guy is so smart. So Alex does that to me all the time. I'm like, wait, what did you say? Like, can you stop? Like, can you unpack that? Like, and I make him like repeat himself over and over, right? On like one thing. Alex is a super smart guy. He'll be coming on the podcast as well. We just keep clashing our calendars to get him on the show. And he reached out and was like, hey, Joe, I think you should have Susan on the show. She'd be great. And I just took him at his word, right? That's how highly I think of him and was like, all right, great. Let's get her on the show. She's got a really impressive background, but we really talked in depth about selling to different types of people. And for the first time ever, we really talked and had a deep conversation about selling females versus selling males. And if 20, 30, 40, even 50% of your sales aren't coming from selling to females, I got to tell you, you're definitely missing out on a big percentage of sales that you could be making. And then lastly here, one more I'll highlight is talking with Michael Borgelt from 51 Blocks, who just started building a really cool SaaS business as well for WordPress and for hosting. And they do some cool stuff. We're working with Michael right now to potentially move over digital triggers actually, and all of our front-end WordPress sites to his hosting company. Shit is just fast, and their support is supposedly bar none. We'll have to give them the test. So that's what we've been up to as of late. That's the last, let's see, that's the last 5 episodes. So since the last AMA, that's what I've been up to, doing about 1 or so of these a week. And man, these have been some really, really good conversations. Hopefully you guys picked out a couple here that you guys would like to be looking at. Howard Tiana, what's up, brother? Frankie says, yep, I'll check that out. Perfect. Howard says, thoughts on going after national brands doing PPL against established brands and niches like debt, bankruptcy, and solar. Howard, can you rephrase your question? I think I know what you mean, kind of, but just want to make sure, brother, I can do your question justice. So are you talking about thoughts on selling national brands PPL? right? In markets like debt, bankruptcy, and solar. Is that it, man? Okay, gotcha. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about these niches. Paper lead in niches like debt, bankruptcy, and solar. So without a doubt, those are probably in like the top 10 paper lead niches out there. And you can look at this two different ways. You can look at this like, man, that's a lot of competition and I want to run the other way. Or you can look at this and say, that's a lot of competition. That must mean that there's lots of opportunity, and embrace it. I do believe that there's a bit of a gap though. And the gap for me in paper lead has always been, how do I go after the big paper lead market, but how do I sell that back to the companies that don't know that the paper lead market exists and that will pay me more than the paper lead market is worth or typically is paying? And then I can play middleman, which means I get paid more than all these networks are getting paid. I can then go to the networks and try to buy traffic and calls, and I can also go to the affiliates that are doing pay-per lead for these networks, right? And try to get them to send the traffic up to me as well. And so, Howard, one way to look at that is that is that way. I've done very well in that space. I've not really went after pay-per lead nationwide, selling direct to the network, so to speak. And what I mean by that is like running, let's say a bankruptcy offer nationwide. I found that in order to do that, I'd have to work with one of the networks in order to do that. And I found that I can't get the leads cheap enough to make a margin, right? Or to make any money when selling them to the networks. I can here and there. With organic, I could, but that's obviously a very long-term play. Hope that makes sense, brother. Does that help? Any follow-up questions too, man? I'd be happy to answer. Hey, Herb, good to see you, brother. Herb says he's got 2 questions. I'm just gonna pull it up big here so I can see it a little better. I hate the questions box here and go to. Hey, Joe, I have 2 questions. Number 1, 2 to 3 weeks ago, I had a conversation with Rob about creating short white label VSL for selling PPC that we can use to show prospects. He mentioned that you would be recording it. If that little project rings a bell, do you have an ETA? It doesn't actually ring a bell. I haven't been asked to record any presentations, but maybe he wasn't having me record it. Maybe he was having Scotty, the head of our partnership and partnership team, do it for you. But I don't know anything about that one, buddy. How about number 2? Let me know your second question. Happy to help. You're welcome on number 1, Herb, no problem. Let's take a look at number 2 once you type it in. Sure. Let's see here. Frankie, anything I can help you out with today? James Noble, Rodney Gardner, Ryan Claudio on my team. Ryan, buddy, anything I can help you out with today? Let me know, brother. So let's see, what else have we been working on lately? A lot have been working on at Invisible PPC. This bad boy, the PPC Smart Niche program has been taking a lot of my time. This is the future for Invisible PPC, specifically proven verticals, right? I believe there's roughly 74 of these proven verticals where we got proven landers, proven offers, proven ads. Really been working on this. Like, this is our big focus. I would say we have somewhere between 30 and 40 full-time people at Invisible PPC. And I would say about 90% of our resources are committed to this PPC Smart Niche program. Obviously, you guys know that every quarter we're rolling out one of the Invisible PPC Smart Niches program. You can see Here, if you go to ippcsmartpages.com, I'll put the link in the chat. You can see the ones that we've rolled out so far. And this is our proven landing pages for each of the verticals. So we've now done plumbing, personal injury, roofing, and dental. And we do roll these out every quarter to the general public with the case studies and before and afters and examples of what the pages look like as social proof. And these have been huge. This is working really, really well for people to get their foot in the door, ultimately to sell Google ads, right? And to sell our productized Google ads offering, PPC Smart Nation. So this has been at Invisible, my big focus, so to speak. Let's see, Herb says, question number 2, in some of your emails/webinars, you speak about growing your business from scratch to 83K in something like 6 months, 4 months, but yes, of which the first 3 were set up. Can you explain how did you do that? Did you have a sales team? How did the initial outreach go? Whatever details you'd like to share. Currently, it seems like a slog just to talk, much less sell to 1 or 2 prospects. Sure, Herb, no problem, man. And forgive me, my throat's a little raw, so I might have to get some water here in a second. But Herb, the setup, man, was all about me personally taking full responsibility of the agency that I was building and its success. And so what I mean by that is I didn't rely on anybody for anything. In stage 1, it was all about who's the market. It's about picking a niche, right? I actually picked a couple niches, and in hindsight, that was a mistake because everything I'm going to walk you through next, I had to do for all of those niches. So I multiplied my work by 4 or 5 or even 6x when I could have just done it once. But really figuring out who that market was, and then figuring out with that market, Herb, what was the problem, right? What was their current situation? What was their desired situation? And finding a message that I could figure out and I could pull, going from one-on-one to that I could flip around and I could advertise one-to-many. And you've got to talk with enough people in a niche, in a niche, in a market, in a vertical, whatever you want to call it, right? Those words are all interchangeable for me, but you really got to talk to enough of them to understand what it is, the problem that they're having. What are their challenges? How do they feel now? Where are they trying to go? And what segment of the market do you want to target? And so Herb, most of the time was doing that. And then really setting up my systems and processes so that I could onboard somebody. And when I did, that it was quick and it was painless, right? And it was as effective as possible. So once I got down my messaging, right, I spoke with a crap load of different businesses in those verticals. I ended up picking a couple of verticals, as I alluded to. I spoke with a ton of them. I figured out what their pain was, where they all were, what part of the market I wanted to serve. And then I figured out how to approach them and talk to them like I was literally tearing a page out of their diary, right? Like I could talk to a group of them if I wanted, and it looked like, or it felt like I was just talking to them singular. And that's the key, man. Like you gotta know the market inside and out. You gotta be able to talk the lingo, so to speak, I believe, in almost all cases. There are circumstances where you don't, but I think long-term you'd be remiss if you didn't learn about the niche and the industry you're going after. If you're really disconnected from the niche or from the industry, I can promise you, you're probably not going to care about them long-term, and you not caring is going to show in your marketing to them. So I think that's just kind of best practice, so to speak. So after that, once I got that piece figured out, Herb, and I knew how to talk to them, I knew what their problems were, I knew where they were trying to go, then it became all about what's one prospecting method that I can use, right? And we did multiple different things in testing to figure out what would work and what am I going to stick to. And ultimately, we ended up building that business, the one that you're talking about specifically, through cold call. And the reason that we did it was after the tests, what worked the best was the cold call. Okay, the thing that I could say, if I invest $100 today, I'm going to get $500 out. The thing that I got to work, the thing that I could prove, the thing that I was confident in was cold call. And the reason that we were able to do that is because I knew the math, I knew the numbers, right? And I personally made sure that it worked. I took responsibility of it working. And only after I made it work and I could prove the numbers and everything was scripted out, did I then bring on somebody and multiple people to start handling outbound cold calls. But I think the key is that a lot of people try to build businesses and they try to outsource the most critical key components of the business. In an agency business, if you don't have sales, and in most businesses, right, it's obvious, if you don't have sales, you don't have a sales process, you don't really have the business, you have a glorified day job. And I've been there. So I knew with this business, my job was to really nail in the niche, the offer, who the market was, right, to be able to then build out a marketing program and a system that went after those people that I could count on. If I dumped $5,000, right, in the front end and advertising and in outreach, for example, and in cold calls and bodies to do that, that I would know what I could get out the other side. Does that make sense, Herb? So ultimately, at the end of the day, I built a system with cold calling specifically, where I knew that every time I talked to a live body, just dialed a random business's number, right? They picked up, somebody picked up, it wasn't an answering machine, that if I talked to 4 of those people, I got to a decision maker. And if I talked to 4 decision makers, I got a booked appointment. And if I got a booked appointment, 1 in 4 appointments that actually showed up, so not everybody shows up, but 1 in 4 that showed up roughly, we ended up getting a sale from. So I was able to back out the numbers and make the math easy so that I knew that I could confidently invest money today and I'd know my return down the line. Herb, give me a 1 if that makes sense. So for me, it was very simple. I'd be willing to invest my setup fee and month 1's profits in order to get a customer. So let's say I charged $1,000, and it's important to always charge the same thing and have consistent numbers. Otherwise, this all becomes very difficult to track because it doesn't become really statistically relevant anymore, right? So we got crazy with our packaging, with our setup fees. We made everything kind of very templated out so that we could track it and track it well. So I knew that I was selling, in that example, I was selling $1,000 setup and $1,000 a month offer. I would be willing to invest month 1 profit, which in my case was $750, and all of the setup fee, okay, which was $1,000. So I was willing to invest $1,750 to get a paid client in an agreement with me. And then it just became, Herb, about backing out those numbers, right? And making sure that I could do that and then scale it, right? How fast can I do that, right? Can I get 10 this week? Can I get 10 this month? Can I get 30 this month? How long will it take me to get 50? So I think the key is a lot of people when they're building companies, they outsource the wrong thing. They spend their time working on the wrong things. And at the end of the day, you got to be laser focused on what it is that's most important in the business. In the agency business, it's sales. Most people try to outsource it as an agency owner. They never do it themselves, and then they wonder why they never get anywhere. I believe that, like, before you can outsource anything, you got to figure your way through it in almost every example. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not going to become a programmer. But because I can't become a programmer, or I'm not going to learn that skill. If I go start a software company, I expect that I'm gonna throw away a lot of money. And what I mean is I'm gonna spend a lot of money because I'm throwing out fishing lures to see which dev team, right? I'm throwing out fishing lines to see which dev team does a good job instead of me doing it myself, right? And I'm expecting that 9 times out of 10, they're gonna fail. But that one time that I get somebody good, I'm not letting them go, right? I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to retain their services, and they're the ones that are gonna be working with me long term. So in every case where you can, you should build a system, I believe, when you're getting started, or you better have a lot of money to throw away, testing people and hoping and praying that they can make it work on your behalf. I hope that that makes sense. Herb says, was the $1,750 investment largely pay or commission for the salespeople? Yes, yes, exactly. I just worked it backwards. I knew how much I had to pay my appointment setters and my closers. And at the beginning, I didn't have appointment setters and closers. I just had one, right? Me calling on the phone, closing deals, right? Figured out the numbers. Then I started people coming in at the first part of the process, just setting appointments with me, right? Then once that was working really well and I was the bottleneck again in the system because I could only take on so many appointments, right? Then guess what? Then I started to bring people into a closer position and started replacing me and started weaning me out. And understand that every time that you do it, every time that you do that, it's going to take more time than it took before for you to train the person, for you to get them up to speed. And there will be a point in time, first couple of weeks, the first month, whatever that time period is, where you will actually have to slow down to speed up. Know that that's just part of the process. But Herb, man, like we got rid of all the friction. We figured out how to make it work. And I could take somebody that was brand new, literally day one on the job, still in training, 2, 3, 4 hours into training, could have them making literally cold calls in that same day, book 4 to 8 booked appointments with business owners. So you can see how it wasn't that hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a lot of work. But you can see how it wasn't that hard to make the math pencil out, right? When I had $1,750 and I could train a brand new person in training day one to get those type of results. Let's see, Herb says, were you very selective with the hiring appointment setters and salespeople, or was it commission based? Did you give more people a chance and just let them weed themselves out? So that's a good question. I kind of did all of the above. At the beginning, we just were commission only, but I gave, not really, I guess, commission only, results only, right? So the first position that we hired was actually appointment setters, then closers, right? And for the appointment setters, I paid them per successful show up. At first, I started paying them just for appointments set. But then I'd realized that some people were faking the numbers or getting really bad appointment sets and they weren't holding, meaning I would show up to the call to do the close and nobody would be there most of the time. That's not okay, right? So first I started paying for appointment sets, then I started paying for appointment holds, but not just sales, but yes, very much pay per, right? Pay per appointment, pay per booked appointment, pay per hold, versus just hourly is how it started. On my closers, we started out only paying them commission. And now, looking back at it and like what I'm currently doing, I can tell you that a lot of the appointment setters that were only paid per appointment were really flaky. They would hit the number of appointments that they wanted to book in a week on Monday or on Tuesday, and then they'd be out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? They were just really inconsistent. So one of the first things that we did was we started actually paying people a smaller hourly and commission. And then we just made it mandatory that they hit X amount of booked appointments. And if they didn't for 2 weeks in a row, we would cancel, right? Something like that. And setting the expectation that they're gonna, then with that hourly rate, that they're gonna work, full time, change the game for us. And we got more consistent appointment setters. You gotta really be careful. If your appointment setters aren't very consistent, and your closers are, and they're waiting for appointments, and you don't have enough appointments, and it's going like this. Some weeks you got too many appointments, some weeks you don't have near enough, and you got to deal with that with your closers too. It can be difficult. So the name of the game is figuring out the consistency, right? That's really the key. How do I get 10 appointments a week and have closers that can close 1 in 4, 1 in 5, or 1 in 3 of those 10 appointments a week? Like the consistency is huge. Hope that helps, brother. All right, guys, any questions, let me know in the Q&A box. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a sip of water here and I'll answer your questions. Sorry about that. By the way, just to clarify on that last kind of messaging, you guys can do whatever you want to get clients. The key is to focus on one method at a time, focus on one niche at a time to make it work, and then figure out how to get yourself out of the process and for you to move to the next thing. And the fact of the matter is, when I talk with most agencies, they're like, yeah, I tried, cold calling, last quarter and it didn't work very well. And I'm like, well, tell me about that. How, what did you do? Oh, well, I hired this company and they did it for 3 months and it didn't work. All right, well, what was the script? Oh, I don't know. Okay, well, yeah, I'm not surprised it didn't work for you, right? Like whatever it is that you decide to do, you got to do it and you got to go after it, right? You got to take full responsibility of it going well or not going well. And even if you outsource somebody and you get them to help you or you bring on people to help you with that mechanism, you still are the one that's ultimately responsible for the success. I hope that helps. Let's see, Howard says selling in networks, i.e. offer vault or networks on offer vault is a good way to test the market without getting the client for it, but it means I have to front the money first and wait to get paid 30 to 60 days. I know you have to recommend a paid trial to establish costs. So these national niches, not sure which approach to take. Howard, I don't like selling to people that are doing nationwide pay-per-call already, because they're going to have a reference point on what the cost per lead is, and it's going to be at a number that I don't want to play ball at. So I hope that gives you the clarity. That makes sense. AKA, there's not enough margin in it for me. So I would go sell the 30-day test. Much better outlook. And every time you go sell a 30-day test, brother, and you run that 30-day test, you're gonna have the results of that, right? Where's my test? There we go. In here, you're talking about it. Yep, 30-day test. So every one of these is going to build you out a case study, right? These case studies are going to help you get the next clients as well. So this thing just becomes a snowball as long as you stay put in a niche. Hope that helps, brother. Frankie says, any chances of adding WordPress to the landing pages you offer? So Frankie, the smart pages that we do, any of these, like let's go to plumbing. Any of these we integrate with a bunch of different providers, right? So go down to the bottom. There's a list of providers. What is it? Each of these anyways get built out on a handful of different providers. Yeah, right? So we do funnel pages, we do unbounce, we do click funnels, we do go high level. We have an HTML5 version that we do. And every one of these, correct me if I'm wrong, Frankie, but integrate with WordPress, right? So funnel pages, they have some type of integration. Unbounce does, ClickFunnels does, Go High Level does. Like there's all ways to work with a WordPress install. So for us, there's lots of ways to make our smart pages work. So what you're really asking is, can you make a theme, right? Or can you make your own landing page platform plugin? We can't, man. We don't charge you guys enough money to support that, right? This is, when we launch these, they're 27 bucks. We build them out on all these platforms too, right? So all of these basically have some type of service to help you get it on WordPress or to get it on your client's domain. So Frankie, if I'm understanding your question, right? You want me to go build something like funnel pages in order for you to put it on WordPress. Not really sure how that helps either of us, brother. Right? Like on like this page, or that's not a good example. We have pages in ClickFunnels, right? Where we use the ClickFunnels WordPress plugin to put it on a domain that's really WordPress, right? So doesn't that get you the result that you want? Let me know, man. Love to know your opinion. What about cold email prospecting with good targets to go after? Yeah, that'll work too, right? The business before the one that Herb asked about, like all my prior experience, not all of it, that's a really blanketed statement, but before that last business that we just talked about, where I built it cold call, mostly before, cold email was like my top method, right? And I've taught so many of you guys how we pick up clients with cold email. It works, don't get me wrong. The issue for me, Frankie, is that it wasn't scaling like cold calling was. And what I mean by that is, with no more complexity, I could hire twice as many or 3 times as many people to cold call and pay them my rates that I already knew, and I would end up with 2 times or 3 times as many booked appointments. Trying to scale like that with cold email doesn't work so hot, right? The benefits of cold email, though, is that it's kind of a set and forget system, right? You set it up, you get it running, you test the messaging, you make it work, and then you can pretty much set it on autopilot besides just responding to the people's responses, right? Not everybody's just going to book right in your calendar. People will email you back and say, yeah, Frankie, how's next Friday work at 5 p.m., right? And you'll have to respond versus just booking right into your calendar. So that works. Any of the methods really for prospecting will work. I mean, guys, I've sold tens of thousands of dollars a month in recurring revenue projects from voice drops, right? That'll work too. It's just different, right? They all have their pluses and minuses, their benefits, right? One of our clients runs Facebook ads, right, to a funnel. It's expensive, but guess what? He has just what I had with the cold calling method. He's got a system he can scale up or down with ease. He brings on average 1 to 2 clients a week. I just got off the phone with him before this call. We had a call at 2 p.m. and he said, yeah, I've already onboarded this week 4 new clients. So I think he charges $2,000 setup and $1,500 a month. I mean, you can do the math. I mean, this freaking week, crazy. But this guy does what most people will never do, to be honest. And what I mean by that is not like that it's so hard. It's just so hard to stick to. He's picked he's picked the niche and he stayed in it, right? And he runs ads with Facebook to his target audience. He got started cold as a brand new agency, having no idea what he's doing. And he stayed in his lane doing his same thing and hasn't let his ADD get the best of him, right? and he's only focused on getting appointments with cold traffic to this one niche, and then closing this one niche, and then he outsources fulfillment. Quite literally, that's it. Doesn't do anything else. Like, that is his job, and guess what? He does it really, really well because he embraces that. Losing my voice, guys. I think I got all the questions answered. We'll do last call though. Rodney, haven't heard from you, brother. James, you commented a couple times, just like ones and stuff. James Noble, anything I can help you with, brother? Anybody else? If you got a clarifying question, something you'd like to bend my ear on, let me know in the chat. Always appreciate you guys being here. Love doing these AMAs for you guys. Herb says, if people don't show up for a call, would you put them in an email drip campaign for a webinar? You could. For us, typically, we just go back to the call though, right? So first we try to rescue the call. So I think it's important, Frankie, Herb, that you have a sequence of reminders where you do everything possible to get the person on the call, right? We send them a calendar reminder, we send them text messages as a reminder, and we send them an email as well the day before. So we got multiple ways we're staying in front of them. It's really hard for people to miss that they have an appointment with us, right? For them to actually just forget it. So first do that. And then if they do miss it, then have a sequence that gets them back to the appointment. And we do that email, SMS, and then also we'll reach out and keep trying to touch them and get them, like actually call them again and try to get them back to the appointment. So those two mechanisms. And then Frankie, like if they fall out, then, and you can't, or I keep saying Frankie instead of Herb. Herb, if they fall out, then you can't ever get them to book again, or they say no, then yeah, throw them in a drip sequence, or throw them into a webinar campaign for sure. You know, take every month, run a webinar campaign, right? Where every month you just talk about one of the programs that you offer, right? The advantages, the benefits, why to consider it over other marketing, mediums or methods. Keep it simple, right? And every month, take all your unconverted leads that you have and invite them to that webinar. Frankie said, we appreciate you, Joe Troy. You're very, very welcome. Happy to help. Let's see, Herb says, I'm getting appointments set for restaurants, but most are no-shows. The gal today was a no-show because supposedly someone chopped off their finger. Yeah. So, yeah, like work accidents happen, right? One thing that's really helped us to get people to show has been to clarify when we set the appointment that they need to be in front of their computer. So if you're talking to somebody that owns a restaurant and they're very involved in the restaurant, they'll know that they need to be in front of their computer. They're much more apt to set a time where they'll actually be in front of their computer and they're not like, managing the kitchen. If you talk with a roofer and you set an appointment, they're much more apt if you say that, and it doesn't work every time, but much more apt, right, to actually be in front of a computer, or it's a time that actually does work instead of them answering in your them answering your call and they're literally on a roof, right? Hard to sell a prospect when they're not really paying attention. James says, just picked up another nugget. Glad you enjoyed it, James. Hope you guys have a fantastic, fantastic rest of your week. And we'll see you guys next month, all right? Joe Shorter signing out.